just going to take a look at the roof here. And it's fairly simple. We'll just start with a cone and then modify it to get our little ridge details. Okay, so let's maybe select the tank, and we'll right click and hide unselected to get rid of the other stuff for now. And let's jump into the top view for this. Alright, so we'll go back to the create panel, and I'm just going to grab a cone, okay, and just drag one out here. And don't worry if it's perfectly centered. We'll align it in a second. Let's just get one in. Okay, and back to perspective. Alright, so I'm just going to center the pivot point on the tank. So hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, center object, and then turn it off. And then we'll grab our cone and just use the align tool to align it to the tank. Alright, X, Y, Z, both pivot points, and OK. And then we'll just push it up on top. Alright, we can position it better after. We'll just get it up there for now and figure out the size we need. Alright, so let's take up the radius 1 amount a bit. Alright, we want to have some overhang, so let's just say 42. That's probably fine. Radius 2, I'm just going to take way down to maybe like 2. Alright, just to make it nice and pointed. We're going to have the little pinnacle on the top when we're done, so we don't really need to worry about the center here. So we'll say 2 is good, and let's give it a little bit more height. Alright, let's just say 20 to make it easy. Alright, I think that's about the size and shape you want. Okay, so we do want to be able to warp this as well, so I'm just going to take the segments up a bit on the height. Alright, let's do maybe 8, and we'll raise the sides up a bit too to smooth it out. Alright, 32 should work. Okay, so let's convert this thing to edible poly. Alright, let's change the color too. Alright, I might just make a blue colored shader here. And just throw that on there. Alright, and let's get rid of that top little cap poly. Delete it. Alright, we'll go around underneath, and I'm just going to select the bottom face. Alright, and we do want to have some thickness to this roof. It's probably going to be made up of sheet metal or something, but I'll just extrude this bottom cap poly down a little bit, just to get some thickness. Alright, it doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 0.4, 0.5 should be fine, and we'll say OK. Alright, and we'll probably delete the center of it, but we want to have some detail underneath here, so let's just do an inset. We'll just go up until we can't really see the edge anymore. Alright, we'll just do like 10 on the inset amount. Say OK, and then I'm going to jump out into the front view. Alright, zoom out here. Go into wireframe F3, and with that center face underneath still selected, I'm just going to pull it up. Okay, just so we get an angle on the bottom side of our roof. Alright, just go up until maybe the first loop on the outside. Okay, that should be fine, and let's check it out. Okay, just like that. And let's turn off polygon, and I'm just going to move the whole thing down again so it's sitting on the top of the tank. Okay, and let's add maybe some more resolution under here as well. So let's grab one of these edges, do a ring, do a connect, and we can probably just use maybe 2 or 3. Say 3, and we'll say OK. Okay, and I'm just going to go into isolation mode on this piece. Alright, so we're going to need to make our little ridge details here, and I think I had 8 of them on here when I built the original one, so we'll try for 8. Okay, so let's go into the front view, or the top view. Alright, just zoom in, and I'm going to go to edge, and we'll just select some edges here. So I'm going to grab the top one there in the middle, the bottom one, both side ones. Okay, and then we'll just go over and skip 3 edges. Select one, skip 3, select one, 3, 3. Okay, we just want to have 3 unselected loops in between each of our selected ones. Alright, so we have 8. Okay, so just like that. Alright, let's hit loop here. Alright, just going to jump out into perspective. Alright, and to get the little ridge detail, I'm just going to chamfer these edges down. So let's chamfer. And take this down a bit. We want to be careful at the top here that we don't have verts crossing. Alright, that's fine. So we'll say 0.25 and OK. And then I'm going to go back into the top view. Zoom in here. And just select one of the little tiny edges between the new chamfered loops. Right, one for each ridge. Okay, so 8 again, and then we'll do a ring, and then control-click polygon. Alright, jump back out into perspective, and underneath here, we don't really want that ridge detail to continue around the bottom side of the roof there, so I'm just going to deselect some of these faces. Okay, so let's go into the front view first. Okay, we'll zoom in here. Alright, and I'm just going to have it stop at the top edge of the outside of the roof there. So I'm going to hold down Alt, we'll do it in wireframe, and just drag through underneath that line. Alright, just to deselect whatever we can here. We'll have to do some of them manually, but I'm going to try to get a few this way. Alright, so all the way to the other side. Okay, and then we'll go out into perspective. Let's turn on and ignore back facing here. And we'll just deselect these three ones underneath. Alright, we don't need that center face either. I'm just going to deselect it for now. We'll delete it in a second. Alright, so just grab anything that isn't facing up. Okay, I think that's all of them. Alright. Just check it out, make sure I didn't deselect anything I didn't want to. Alright, looks good. Okay. So to create the actual little ridge detail, we're just going to bevel these faces. Okay, so let's zoom in here so we can see, and we'll open up bevel. Alright, we'll do local normal, take the height way down. Let's up the outline amount, just untwist the polys there, and let's take the height down a little farther. Alright, we'll just go maybe 0.15 on the height, and let's see. For the outline amount here, let's just maybe go down to negative 0.1. That should be fine, and we'll say OK. Okay, so let's exit polygon and just take a quick look here. We're just going to turn the edges off, F4. Alright, so that's probably fine. So we're going to have to chamfer some of the edges down, but I think I'll just do a save first. Okay, so let's just jump in the top view, and we'll turn edge back on, and I still have back facing turned on here. And I'm just going to zoom in on the top and just select all these edges, alright, around the top. Okay, and then we'll just deselect the three ones between the ridges that we don't want to do. Okay, and then we'll loop. Alright, and we'll leave that for now. I'm just going to jump out into perspective. Okay, so down here at the bottom, we can't just loop this edge because it's not going to follow around. So what I'm going to do is just go into wireframe, and I still have back facing turned on. I'm just going to hold down Control and just drag a selection around the end of each of the ridges. Okay, and then I'm just going to hold Alt and deselect the ones on each side, and the ones below it. Okay, so just the outline of the ridge. And I have a bit of a weird display problem, as you can see here when I move, so it's hard to tell what's selected, and that's just a display problem that I seem to have for some reason. I don't know if it's Vista or what, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass. But yeah, I'm just going to select anything that outlines the ridge. Okay, so just work our way around and do that around each one. Alright, holding Control. Alright, do that on this one as well. Okay, deselect those, deselect those. Alright, go to the next one, drag selection, deselect the two side ones and the ones underneath. Alright, save this one. And I'll try to do this as quick as I can. Alright. And go to the next one. Alright, next one. A little awkward doing it this way, but alright, so I think that's all the way around. Okay. And I do want to do this top edge with them. Okay, so I'm just going to select one edge in between the two ridges, holding Control. Alright, just one in each section. Okay. Alright. Around here, grab one of these ones. And one of those guys. Alright, I already got one selected here, so I'm just going to hit loop. Okay, just to continue the loop around. Alright, all the way around the outside and around our ridges. Okay, and then we'll go up to the top. Alright, and right now it looks like I got 384 selected. Okay, so I'm just going to deselect the border around this hole. Alright, we don't have any thickness up here, so we don't really need to chamfer this down. Okay, so I'm just going to hold down Alt and just carefully deselect anything between them. Alright, I'm also going to deselect the ones actually at the bottom of the ridge here. Okay. Alright, just continue around. Alright, and if you want to make this a little quicker, you can always change your selection tool. If you click, left click, hold it down, you can change it to different things. So I'm just going to change to the bottom one, which is the paint brush. Okay. So when we hold Alt, we can just paint and deselect the edges instead of dragging the marquee around them. Okay, just carefully go. Alright. So just like that. So nothing around the border selected. Okay, so it looks like it should be 344 when we're done. Okay, so I'm just going to change this back to the square. And we'll go back into perspective. Alright, zoom in here. And we'll just chamfer them all down at once. Alright, so chamfer. And keep these pretty small. We'll say 0.04, that should be fine, and we'll say OK. Alright, and let's just do the bottom one while we're at it. Okay, so I'm just going to grab one edge on the bottom and just loop, and it'll go all the way around this time. Okay, so let's chamfer again. Alright, I'm just going to round this one over a little bit more. Take it up a bit. Let's do maybe like 0.1, and we'll say OK. And then we can exit edge and exit isolation mode. Alright, so let's turn off the edges and just take a quick look. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll just warp it in a minute, but let's do a save now that we have it actually built. Alright, so I might just go into isolation mode here with the roof still selected. Okay, and maybe I'll throw that specular material on here. Alright, and let's go down and turn our brush back on. Okay, and the same deal here as with the tank. We just want to be careful of the ridges so we don't start crossing verts. Okay, so we'll take our brush size down pretty small, and we'll take our amount way down as well. Alright, take the push pull down. Alright, we'll just start going in between them. I'm just going to take the intensity up a slight bit. Okay, and you can hit them a little bit. You don't have to, totally avoid it, but I just want to be really careful when you do hit it, that you're on a low amount. Alright, I'm just going to shrink my brush down to maybe around 6, just so I can get up on the top here. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of make it a little saggy in some places. Alright, you can always turn the edges on and do this too. I think it's easier myself. Just turn the edges off and take a look. And it is a little hard to tell what you're doing because of the angle of the cone, but you can see it here. I got kind of a massive dent in there, so I'm just going to tone that down a bit maybe. Maybe hit it over here. A little too intense. Let's tone this down a bit. I'm going to take it down to maybe 0.1 and just quickly hit the ridges. Just randomly again. We can also hit the edge a little bit as well. Alright, just to break up the thickness. Make it a little more uneven looking. Do this maybe with the edges off again. Alright, just going to go up a little bit more. Alright, let's lower the brush size too, and maybe get right up here at the top. Let's take it down even more than that. Alright, edges on here. I might actually throw that blue on for just 1 second. Alright, just so I can see the edges a little clearer. Alright, I'm just going to check them out, make sure I didn't hammer anything too much. Alright, this doesn't look too good right here, as you can see, so I'm just going to pull that back out a little bit. Alright, just check out the rest of them. Okay, and let's maybe just check underneath here. I might just rough up this a little bit as well, right on the other side. And we still forgot to delete that polygon, so I'm just going to do that right now. Just select the bottom face and delete it, because we don't need it. Okay, and then we'll just continue on, and I'll maybe paint around the bottom of the bridge here. Alright, let's go a little bigger for this, a little more intense. You're not really going to see this too much anyway, so we can probably just do it pretty quick. Alright, it's on a weird angle too, it's a little hard to tell exactly what kind of results we're getting. Let's tone that down a little bit more. I'm just going to try to flip it over here so I can see a bit better. Alright, back over. Alright, let's exit isolation mode and just see how it looks with the tank there. Okay, I'm going to turn the brush off and just throw the default shader on there. Alright, just zoom out and hit F4. Alright, so it's not too bad. It's subtle again, and that'll really depend on how much you want yours beat down looking. You can go a lot more intense if you want to, but I'm just going to unhide the rest of it. So right click and unhide all. Alright, that's not too bad, actually. Alright, so just for the sake of speed, I might just leave it like this and move on. We'll do the pinnacle, but again, take more time until you're happy with the roof. But I'm just going to do a save. Okay, so we'll just chuck the pinnacle on here, and then that'll finish off the modeling. Okay, and this is pretty simple. We'll just start with a cylinder and then just modify it. Or you could use a cone if you want to. So I'm just going to grab the roof there and hide everything else. Hide unselected. Alright, let's go into the top view. Alright, zoom in on the top here. Alright, we'll go back to the create panel and just grab a cylinder. And I'm just going to drag one out that's centered on the hole there. Okay, and we'll go a bit bigger than the hole. Alright, let's go maybe around 4.5, and we'll give it some height. Okay, and let's jump out and actually get it lined up with the top. So we'll drag it up in the perspective view. Alright, I'm just going to stick it so it's just sitting on the roof like that. Okay, and let's tweak the size. Alright, so for the radius we'll do 4.5, and the height we can probably just do maybe 0.5. Okay, we don't really need the height segments, so let's right click and take this down to 1, and we can probably give it maybe like 30 sides, so it's somewhat smooth. Okay, and I'm just going to position it a bit better, so I'm going to move it down, just like that. Okay, so the outer edge is just against the top of the ridge there, and we'll convert it to editable poly. Alright, so let's change the color on this too. Alright, just going to chuck the blue on there, and we'll grab the top polygon. Okay, and I'm just going to jump out into the front view for this. Alright, so we have a bit of a bevel detail here, slope part, so I'm just going to create that first. Okay, so let's open up bevel, and let's just take the height way down. Alright, we'll go maybe 1.5 or 1.6, and then the outline amount will lower down just to make it more pointed. Alright, so we're going to go around maybe 0.3, 3.2. Alright, just so it kind of matches the angle of our roof. Okay, so that looks pretty good, so we'll say okay. And then we also have another extrusion here, and then another bevel. Alright, so let's just extrude this polygon on the top. Alright, so extrude, and we'll lower it down. Alright, maybe 3.5 or 3.4 or so. Should be good, and we'll say okay. And then let's bevel again. Alright, I'm just going to up the outline amount here, and take the height way down. Alright, don't want this to stick up too much, so I'm going to go maybe around 0.3 or so. And the outline amount, let's just figure that out. Alright, we'll just say maybe negative 0.37 or 38. That should be fine. Okay, and then we'll say okay, and then extrude one more time for the top piece. Alright, let's figure out how long I want to make that. Alright, so I might take it down just slightly. Alright, let's just say 3.1 or something. And okay. Alright, so pretty simple. Let's check this out in perspective, make sure it looks okay. Alright, zoom out here. Alright, so I think that's about right, so let's just create the hole in the top. I'm just going to inset the top polygon, just slightly. Alright, maybe 0.1, and we'll say okay, and then I'm just going to extrude it down inside, so we'll open up extrude and just take it down a bit. Alright, you're never going to see in there anyway, but we'll just take it down to like negative 3 or 4. Alright, say negative 4 and okay, and then we'll just delete that face. Alright, so let's go around to the bottom here. I'm just going to grab the bottom face, and before we delete it, I'm going to inset it just a bit. Okay, so we'll inset. Just take this up until we can't see the edge of that polygon anymore. Alright, so it's on the inside of the hole, and maybe like 0.7, and we'll say okay, and then we'll delete it just to get it out of there. Okay, and let's exit polygon, and I'm just going to go in isolation mode here for a second, and we'll just chamfer down the edges quickly. Alright, so we'll start at the top, grab both of these ones, okay, around the edge, and do a loop. And let's chamfer. Alright, take this way down. Alright, maybe 0.02 or so should be fine. And then let's move down here to the bevel detail, and we'll just grab this one, loop it, chamfer it. Alright, that might actually be fine right there, so we'll do 0.02 again. Grab the next one down, let's loop. Alright, so I'm just going to take this up slightly. Alright, maybe around 0.03, and we'll hit apply, and then lower the second amount down just a tiny bit. Let's get in here so we can actually see. Alright, so maybe take it down to 0.015 or so, and say okay, and then we'll go down and just grab this one, loop it, chamfer, take this one up slightly. Alright, let's do maybe around 0.35 or so, or 0.35. Alright, grab this one, loop, chamfer, and I think I'll do a double here, so I'm going to take this up a little bit. Let's just do maybe like 0.07, hit apply, and then we'll take it down on the second one to maybe about 0.03, and okay. And then last one, just grab this one on the outside, loop, chamfer, and I might actually just leave that at 0.03 as well, and we'll say okay. Alright, so let's exit edge in isolation mode. I'm just going to check and see if the size looks about right. I think it's good. Alright, so we're almost done here, but I'm just going to add some resolution to it so we can just quickly warp it. Okay, because we don't want this to look perfect and everything else is warped. So let's just go to edge, and I'm just going to grab one on the outside of the top there, do a ring, do a connect, and we'll just add a couple here. Maybe like 3, say okay, and let's maybe add one across the bevel detail. So ring, connect, maybe just one here. Alright, and we'll do the same with this side down here. Grab one, ring, connect. Let's add maybe 4. Say okay, and then finally we'll do the slanted part here. Alright, and maybe I'll just add 4 or 5. Alright, and then we'll exit edge. Just going to throw the other shader on there, maybe the specular one. Okay, and we'll go into isolation mode, and I'm just going to quickly warp this one last time. Alright, so let's go to the brush, turn it on. Take our brush size way down for this, it's pretty small. Alright, so maybe around like 1 or 2. And I'm going to keep the amount really, really low here too as well. Okay, and I'm just going to slightly warp it. Let's actually take this down even farther. Oh, too intense. Alright, maybe around 0.01. Alright, we don't really have to overdo this too much, but I'm just going to quickly hit it. I'm just going to take the pressure down even more. Let's do it 0.005. Alright, so we'll just quickly rough it up just so it matches the rest of it. Alright, turn the edges off maybe. Alright, you can see it's all faceted. I'm just going to add a smooth modifier quickly to it. So let's turn off the push-pull and just go into the modify list. And we'll just add a smooth and do auto smoothing. Okay, just to smooth it out a bit, and then we'll go back down to the edit poly, turn on show end result, turn back on our brush, and just continue on here. Alright, a little too bulgy maybe right here, so take that down a bit. I'm going to lower the brush size a little more. Don't want to warp it too much. Just going to check the edges out here. Make sure I'm not crossing anything. Alright, let's tone this back a bit. Alright, I got kind of a massive dent up here in the top, so I'm just going to try to get rid of it. Alright, let's zoom out and see how it looks. Okay, so that's not too bad. Good enough, I think, for this. So let's exit isolation mode, turn our brush off, right click on hide all. Alright, I'm just going to change the material back to the standard one. Okay, and let's just zoom out and take one final look. Alright, so not too bad. I'm just going to do a save here before I finish this up. Alrighty, so I think we're pretty much done here with the model. I'm just going to check the reference one last time and make sure I didn't leave anything out. I think we got everything. It looks like it, so let's just minimize this. Okay, so yeah, this is about as far as I think I can take the model in the tutorial. There's a few additional things you could add that I left out just for the sake of time and speed. Obviously, there's nothing holding our boards onto the frame, so if you wanted to actually take a little more time, you could maybe add some nails or some sticking out or bolts or pretty much whatever you wanted to do. You could maybe put like some metal plates up here with some bolts holding the frame together. That might be cool. Or even some additional pipes up here on the side of the tank, or whatever you feel it needs. But yeah, I'm going to leave it like this, and I'll move on and actually unwrap it now. And like I mentioned in the introduction, I'm not going to be able to go through that process in the tutorial, so I won't be able to show you how I'm going to do it, but I'll just give you a little heads up on how I'm going to approach it. I'll be using the demo version of Headis UV layout again, and if you watched my previous mailbox tutorial, which is also available on CG Tuts, I go through that process. Just exporting pieces out to UV layout, unwrapping it, and then bringing it back into Max. And that's how I'm going to do it for this. I'm just going to export each piece out, take it in there, map it, and then bring it back in. And then when I get all the pieces in here that are mapped, I'm going to attach this thing all together into one object, and then lay it out all on one sheet, okay, just because I want to use a single map for the entire model. And I think we'll probably do a 4K if we can. Alright, so yeah, how I'm going to approach it. For the wood here, it's actually really simple to unwrap, even though it looks kind of complex. I'm just going to chop the ends, each end of the boards off. Okay, so maybe right at the back of the chamfer here, just split that off into one little piece, and then the same with the other end. And then for the length of it, I'm just going to probably split it down the whole length, somewhere where you won't see the seam, and then just unfold that center portion into one sheet. Okay, I'm going to repeat that on every board. Okay, and then for the blocks down here, I'll probably just split the corners up and just flatten it down. Same with the pipe, just split it lengthwise and then flatten it out. The tank, I'll probably just chop the bottom off and then just split it on the back so you won't see the seam, and then just unfold it. And then same goes for the roof. I'll probably just chop the bottom off and then just flatten down the top here and keep it all together. Right? And the pinnacle, do that the same way. Just cut it up and then split it. Okay, so yeah, I won't be able to show you how to do it. You could just skip ahead to the next part of the tutorial and actually see the laid out UVs. And if you check out my last tutorial, the mailbox one, I go through the process of how to use UV layout, the controls, and where to download it from, and and so on. So maybe check that out. There's also some other tutorials on the site that cover UV mapping, and my brother's going to have one coming pretty soon that goes through that process pretty in depth. He has about 4 hours of UV mapping in his next tutorial, so that should be up soon too. Okay, so maybe check that out, and I'll come back when I'm done, and we'll continue on and start texturing it. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit.